Hello, weary travelers, and welcome back to the Temple of Kung Fu. As always, I'm your host, the Shaolin Kid, and tonight's tale is... Killer, which is, there's a bit of complicated thing. This is not a trilogy. These films are unrelated. These are completely unrelated movies, and Spirited Killer is just in this collage of different Thai action films. But we are only, today at least, reviewing Spirited Killer in the trilogy box set, starring Tony Jaa, which it is not. Also, directed at least by Panna, Rittikrai. I'm sorry if I butchered that. Correct me if I pronounced that wrong, which I probably did. But a legendary choreographer, if you didn't know. He worked on the Ong Bak movies as well as the Protector movies. I believe he worked on Protector 2, but I know he worked on Protector 1, which is a great movie. And, I mean, he's, unfortunately, he passed away about 10 years ago. So, you know, rest in peace to him. He was also, if you didn't know, he was the teacher. He was the mentor to Tony Jaa, so that's why Tony Jaa is in this movie. But he's not in a starring role. Tony Jaa is in, like, I want to say the first 10 to 15 minutes, and then he's out. Because in between, so in the opening, there's this evil wizard who, there are just these people, he's just in the middle of this forest in Thailand, and he just has this, like, shrine in the middle of the forest, and he's making this concoction potion thing, again, in the middle of nowhere, in a forest, when there's, like, people there, too. Were there, like, pamphlets handed out for this event? Was there, like, did he have, like, a messenger? I don't know. There were just people here, and Tony Jaa included. And for no reason whatsoever that I could think of, he just randomly wanted to poison these people. Why? Because he's evil, and he wants to kill random people for no reason in the middle of the forest with a evil potion that he says will give them immortality, but he's like, but I do give them immortality. I free them from the suffering of this world, is his explanation, I guess. Which, I mean, is noble, if depending on how you look at it, I guess. I guess he found it noble, or maybe he didn't. I don't know. So then Tony Jaa escapes. He's like the sole survivor. He escapes, and he gets to the village. So he escapes, and he gets to the village, and he talks to the chief of the village, and he goes, hey, this evil guy, he poisoned these people. He almost killed me. I almost just barely got out with my life. And they're like, well, we need to stop him. So they get a bunch of machetes, and they chase him through the forest, and then they hack him to death with machetes and throw him into the fucking river, which... I mean, just like, I don't know, maybe that's a little extreme. I mean, yeah, he did poison and murder some people, but, like, that I feel like you didn't need to, like, group hack him to death. I don't know if that was really necessary. I mean, he was a murderer, I guess, so sure. But then, here's another thing. It then cuts to a random scene of, I think it cuts to the scene of the boat with these two people and this girl singing in Thai. No subtitles, by the way. So I had no idea what she was saying. And apparently, this scene, that is, so the opening scene and the river scene the river scene is 5 years after that. There is no, like, Thai lettering at the bottom that I can remember. Maybe her song has, like, hints at it that it's 5 years later. I wouldn't know. I don't speak Thai. Then, after the song, we're just gonna move past... The song just happens, by the way. Like, it's not a musical. There's no other songs after it. It's just a singular song. We're rowing a boat, And the thing is, like, I'm telling you this, it's not like she was singing it and there's, like, ambience of, like, forest stuff in the background. No, there's instrumental in the background. It's her actually singing, like, a real song. But it's not a musical. There's no other lyrical song in the rest of the movie. Just for this random fucking scene in this movie, she sings. So that was confusing and weird. So then we cut to Panna, who is the main bad guy of this film. And I will say this film is kind of like a slasher film. If they didn't do it properly, and I'll tell you why they didn't do it properly later. So Panna is essentially the big bad, like, invincible slasher villain of this film. So after the whole boat scene, we then see him, I think it's like a caravan, or like they have like a bunch of materials or like supplies they're bringing to the village, right? And it's basically like, it's a giant group of people. It's at least like 10, 15 people. Maybe not 15, but like 10 people, right? It's a lot of people. And Panna's just standing in the middle of the road, and he turns around, and by the way, these are supposed to be the good guys, and just this random dude who has done nothing to them, who is just standing in the road, they threaten him with weapons. And these are supposed to be the good guys, mind you. They threaten this random dude just because he's standing in the street. And then he promptly kills all of them except for 2 of them. Just annihilates them, kills all of them immediately. And the 2 survivors run off to go to the chief again and say, oh, there was this guy, he was killing people, the average thing, the thing they already said, that Tony Jaa said to him in the opening. And then after that scene, it cuts to another group of people who are Japanese tourists, stay with me, who are trying to study the culture and the archaeology, and they're really fucking annoying, and I hate them so much. They're really annoying. I hate the Japanese tourists. It's not because they're Japanese, it's because they're tourists. Like, you know, usually in a movie like this, tourists are intentionally made as stupid, like, ignorant fools, right? Because that's how most tourists are in an unfamiliar location. They're fools, they're ignorant, and they don't, as I said, they're ignorant. They don't know anything about what's going on, and they're pretty stupid. And they're like city folk, right? So they don't know what they're doing. They're represented like that. They're represented like idiots who have no idea what they're doing, who are in a place they're not familiar with, but they're supposed to be likable. And they're not. They fucking suck. Every single one of them suck. And I was praying for their death. Every single one of them. I hate them. And then there's just these dudes in full, like, fucking bandanas on their faces, like balaclavas, and they're, like, just walking down the road carrying wood. And for no reason, they see these guys who have weapons holstered with masks. They're like, hey, can you give us directions to the nearest village? And usually, in a normal movie, that would end with the tourist getting fucking hacked to death by bandits, right? But this isn't neither a good movie, nor is it a normal movie. So for no reason whatsoever, these random city folk tourists know kung fu for some reason, and can just beat the shit out of these bandits with weapons. Sure, why not? And they scare off the bandits, and they run away, and then they get killed by Panna. And then, guess what? After a little bit more lollygagging, they cut to another group of tourists. Chinese? Well, they're more like expeditionists, I guess. Like Chinese expeditionists who are trying to find a holy metal. And that plotline is forgotten about until the last 20 minutes, mind you. So they're talking about holy metal, and my God, have I waited for this moment. There are 2 characters in this scene, in this group, that I despise with every fiber of my being. A guy with a fan and 2 missing front teeth, and Mute. I hate them so much. And I haven't talked about this a lot. I like Hong Kong kung fu movies. I like, not even Hong Kong. I just like kung fu movies, like Asian kung fu movies, right? I like those. But here's the thing. One thing I feel like I haven't talked about, maybe I have, but I despise kung fu comedy. Because it's all the same, and it's all shit. None of it is funny. It's probably, it probably is because I am American, and that shit is not funny. But it's still not funny. It's outdated, it's not funny, and it's annoying as fuck. So whenever there's a comic relief character in a kung fu movie, there's only ever one possibility for who they are. They either have a big mole on their face with hair sticking out of it, a stupid, ridiculous costume, or they're this type of comedy. Making stupid faces and noises the entire time. And that's the entire joke. They're mentally handicapped. I was going to say another word, but I can't say that anymore. They are mentally handicapped. And it's not funny, right? But here's the thing. The reason I'm able to tolerate it in other kung fu movies is because either one, the comic relief character dies almost immediately, or two, they don't have a lot of screen time. So that means they don't have a lot of time to be annoying because they're not there that much. They might be in the background, or they might have a tiny little joke in one scene that's not funny. Like, I hate kung fu comic relief characters, but they barely do anything, and that's why I'm able to tolerate them. This movie, they're like fucking central characters. The director, Panna, I'm sorry, you're a legend, but you were obsessed with these dipshits for no reason. They got more screen time than, I feel like they had more screen time than the hero of the movie, which I'll get to in a sec. I fucking hate these dipshits because not only is the mute's only joke is that's his entire thing, that's his entire infrastructure, that is all he does, and he's awful. I was praying for his death and mutilation the entire movie. Every time he got in a fight, I'm like, please die, please kill him, please get your head chopped off right now. And he didn't. He kept running away because he's a coward and a fucking piece of shit. And Fan Guy is no better. He's not as bad as Mute. Mute was awful. I hated him so much. But Fan Guy was just as bad. His comedy was also bad because he talked in the same way, but he's like, he had the same type of problem, annoying, weird, funny, weird noise comedy, which was also very annoying. But when I tell you, Mute, the worst fucking character in the entire goddamn movie, had the most dramatic death scene in the whole movie, I was cackling like a fucking witch. It was the most euphoric moment of my life. It's like I discovered to speak languages for the first time. It was magical. It's like watching Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory for the first time. It was beautiful. He died painfully and slowly, and I cheered. I tell you, when I jumped up for joy, and I put my hands up, like, yes, he's dead, fuck you. I am not fucking with you. I did that unironically. Mainly, it was ironic because I hated him. But it was also for real because I hated him that passionately. And I was so happy when he died. And I think it was so funny that the director tried to make that an emotional moment when it was really the most, courageous, one of the greatest film scenes I've ever seen in my life, honestly. Seeing the death of one of the worst characters in cinema history. It was good. I fucking hate Mute. He's so terrible. But that was awesome, watching him die. Unfortunately, Fan Guy survived, which made me a little mad. I wished he had died the same way, too. Maybe, impaled You know, like throw him on a stake, choke him to death, I don't know. Kill him in some way. Some painful fashion would have worked, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Luckily, all the Japanese pricks died. Well, the annoying daughter and sports shirt guy, he didn't die, unfortunately, and the stupid bumblebee jacket girl didn't die. But their annoying friends did. There was these two guys. They had vests on, and they were insufferable, like every other main character in this movie. And when they died, I was like, yeah! Like, legitimately, I was cheering every time a main ensemble character died. I tell you, I was cheering every time. Because I hated all of them. The only ones I were cool with was one of the Chinese guys was alright. He had like a black jacket on, he was fine, and he survived, so that's fine. There was a guy with a tattoo that was at the beginning of the movie that survived the attack from Panna. He died later on, but he was fine. He didn't do anything insufferable. He wasn't annoying. The chief was okay. He wasn't annoying. He didn't have any idiotic comedy or just being an idiot. He was fine. His daughter was fine. But now, I'll get into a character that I really hated too. The hero of the film, Tank Top Man. I forgot what his name was. Actually, no, he had more of a wife beater than he had on it, which is really in character for him to have a wife beater. Because he's a piece of shit idiot. Because you're supposed to like him, but he's an asshole. And he's like... So there's a scene where he talks to the annoying sports Japanese tourist guy, saying, hey, I need you to take my girlfriend to safety, because, I want to marry her, like sappy shit. And then immediately after, there's no breather, he's like, man, fuck that bitch. I hope he takes her. I don't want her. She's so stupid. I don't like her. Make up your mind, asshole. Do you like her or do you not? You fucking dickhead. He was so annoying, and I wanted him to die so bad. But there is hope. There is hope. Because at the end of the film, the doctor came back to life, and it was revealed, which was quite obvious, that Panna, or the spirited killer, was like his puppet, kind of. Or not, he was like kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but he was kind of like his warrior, his like invincible warrior, pretty much. And they got into a big fight with the main ensemble, which Mute died. And then, the Japanese prick died. I think the dad died, which was nice to watch. The daughter, watching her father die in front of him, her pain brought me joy. So that was nice. Then, hope you know this, I'm not actually a sadist, I think. This is all just a fun thing. I still hate these characters, though. But, it's funny, because then in the final fight, the doctor and, the spirited killer, they get in a big final fight, and eventually there's a random guy who was established, and I think the second half of the movie, he'd just been, watching them, and they didn't really explain who he was, or what he was. He was I guess maybe a monk, maybe? Like a holy figure of some kind? I don't know. Because he gave them a blade, which was like a rusty machete, but it was holy metal. And he gave it to them, and they killed the doctor with it, because I guess they were undead, maybe? They were kind of vampire zombie-ish type things. So they had to use a special holy metal, which I guess that means it was godly metal. Holy metal to kill the evil demonic magic, essentially was the idea. So they killed the doctor with it, and then, when the doctor got killed with it, the spirited killer went, so, obviously there was a connection that he had with the doctor. So he was weak, right? So they could then attack him with normal weapons. And then they with, dual machetes on him, right? And then it looked like they'd won. So all the dipshits that survived came up, right? And they looked on, and they're like, yay, we won. And then, by the way, being a Kung Fu movie, there was actually, I'm sure you're aware of this by now, Kung Fu movies do not have a falling action. There's a climax, and then it ends. But this movie probably had the most batshit ending I've ever seen. Because, immediately after, the triumphant music plays, he gets up, and then the movie ends. So my headcanon is after he got up, he killed all of them, and then went back into the forest and became the new Jason Voorhees. He became the Thailand's version of Jason Voorhees. He murdered all of those assholes, and then he went into the forest again. So whoever goes to that village will meet the same fate, and he also found a hockey mask, too. But, okay, I will say, this movie was not torture to watch. And while every main ensemble character was annoying and insufferable and terrible, I will say they're bad in a way that makes it satisfying when they die. If you couldn't already tell, I like it when these characters die. But I honestly think, like, they're so annoying, and maybe it's just the dubbing. Maybe it's, like, the dub actors being annoying, maybe. But I just think even if I had watched the original language, which you can't, by the way, on the menu it says, use your remote to listen to the original language. You can't. You can't do that. It's only the dub on the first thing, at least. So maybe the original language negative, wherever that may be, maybe they do it better. Maybe they're not as irritating, but I doubt it. And I will just say, even though I've spoken a lot of negative press about this movie, I will say it was enjoyable because it was fun to just watch how badly it is. Like, it's a so bad it's a good movie, kind of. Right? I mean, yeah, it's a bad movie. And if Mute survived, I would have rated it a 2 out of 10. But he didn't. So you know what? It's going to get bumped up to a 5 out of 10. See, you get 3 points for killing Mute. That's how this works. But I will say this film was really fun because it's just like no budget. You can tell that this film was made with basically nothing. Like, I'm pretty sure they shot this film in, like, the village that they lived in. I'm pretty sure they shot this around the area they lived in. Or if not, like, around the area that they lived in. Because, like, they didn't really there were no special effects, like, at all. There wasn't even any, like, fake blood. Like, yeah, there was fake blood, but there wasn't, like, blood splatters or anything. Like, there was, like, ketchup on their shirt or something. Like, it wasn't even, like, actual fake blood. They probably just put, like, some red dye on their shirt or something. So the film was very low budget. And yeah, they had, like, prop weapons, or maybe they were even real weapons, I don't know. But, yeah, the costumes were just normal clothes for the most part. Like, the main slasher, the spirited killer didn't even wear it. He just wore a normal jacket. He just looked like a normal dude. The doctor didn't even wear anything that special. I mean, he had, like, a bead necklace on. He had, like, a jacket. I don't know. You get what I mean. Low budget. But I think it adds charm to it, you know? If you can find charm in the hellish landscape of these characters' existence. But do I recommend this film? I don't know, honestly. I really think that if you're trying to enjoy, like, a movie by this guy, Panna, I really think you should just watch the Ong Bak movies, or you should watch the Protector movies. Like, I think there's, like, just better movies that he's worked on, and obviously you gotta start somewhere, and honestly, all the shit that I'm talking to this movie, it's for fun, right? As I said, you gotta start somewhere, and, I mean, you're not gonna, unless you're, like, a Nepo baby, you're not gonna start off with, like, millions and millions of dollars to spend on a movie, you know what I mean? You're not Tommy Wiseau, okay? You're not an enigma like that lizard person. But I'm just saying that this film could be enjoyed ironically. But if you're looking for, like, a good, action-packed kung fu martial arts film, not even kung fu, like a great martial arts movie, just go and watch the Ong Bak movies, or go and watch The Protector. Those movies are better, and I think they're just better movies, right? And I really would just recommend those over this. But if you're still interested, maybe. And with that being said, did I enjoy this movie? Yes and no. Obviously, I've been rambling and raving about how much I hate the characters, but I feel like I would not have gotten nearly as much enjoyment out of this movie if I didn't hate the characters so much. Like, if the characters were just boring and uninteresting, like, I would have barely anything to say about this movie. But I think, like, I have this opinion that I'd rather watch a movie that I hate so much to the point where I want to strangle the person who made it over a movie that I give a 5 out of 10 that is just really boring and there's nothing else to talk about. I'd rather have a movie make me feel something than nothing, right? You get what I mean? I've talked about that a lot, but like, this movie made me feel something and I can give it that, right? Which means I feel like I enjoyed it because it was fun to watch, because I was rooting for the main character's downfall the entire time, and that was fun, okay? Rooting for people's downfall is fun. So ultimately, I think I would rate this film a 5 out of 10. 3 extra points for the death of Mute. And that is charity. That is a charity to the people of the world. To the free world, we salute you. And and 5 out of 10, would recommend it if you're looking for a movie to laugh at, but would recommend Panna's other movies. And I think I've said what I say. I think I've said my piece. So guys, thanks for stopping by the temple. I really appreciate it. Haven't really had time to dust off one of the old tomes we got lying in that big old library of ours. So glad we were able to visit the temple one more time. And I'm glad you decided to stop by. And with that being said, I hope you guys like this video. Share with friends. Subscribe. Touch notifications on. Comment when you liked it. And I've been the Shaolin Kid. Buddha be praised. This review's over.